Today is we're gonna because we have a lot. We've gone through a lot of the beginner session, a lot of repotting, and now because the season and we are actually going to more intermediate to advanced grower, and I use the new topic depending on the type of orchid I have in flower, and this is the path hirsutissimum variety esquirolei. It's a mouthful. Uh, can we do a focus on this? Well, start with this. This is they are actually hirsutissimum variety esquirolei. It's actually a wonderful species. They are actually from northern Vietnam or southern China border. And if you, this is how they grow in usually on the cliff or the could be on the rock or top of the soil, usually on the hill. And unless they're flowered, you usually mix them because the leaf looks like just any other grass looking. So they got their very, very attractive. This has been this is one of the easiest to bloom as far as the this type of orchid. I usually like to grow them with my Phalaenopsis, and very different than the Maldia type. We all know the Maldia type. Okay, the more tropical type. Okay, the Maldia type is with a variegated leaf. We all not familiar with this, but we have a session before. These are the species from Thailand. Further south is hotter and shadier. So this type is actually, if you have a very cold wind, cool growing area, they actually can tolerate the temperature go down below about 45 degrees, no problem. I can even grow this type outdoor in Southern California. In Orange County, I do have customer just grow this, simply grow this outdoor year round, providing that they have a growing area, have a shelter, for example, under the gutter of your house, so the rain, water do not get on it if you live in our West Coast USA. So, any of you have grown this type of orchid before? Any show hand? Somebody has it? Who has it?
I think Sunny has, and
Sunny
maybe
has it.
Donna has.
A lot of people always have challenges is saying, well, how come my hirsutissimum or esquirolei type do not flower for you? Like a lot of orchid and some of the previous Paphiopedilum podcasts that we had before, this type flower in the fall and the winter and early spring. So in the middle of the summer, they actually just do this is their vegetation stage. So in the vegetation stage, in the middle of the hot summer, remember, in the wild, in the jungle, in the tropic, on the forest, there's a lot of heavy shade. Okay, so you do not want to expose them to a lot of sun. Okay, especially in South Florida. The best person that I seen this grow up profusely in South Florida, Homestead, for our area, is he put it under his vanda, and under the vanda, and then he put it in a very, very coarse media, almost like hydroponic rock. So when he water his vanda, all this under the vanda, heavily shade, heavily water is fine. Okay, so the trick to get them flower is in the fall and the winter time. Okay, in a while, where they come from, the flowers will have leaf drop, because the weather changes. So they actually, you gotta remember to give them extra shade, extra light in the fall. And a lot of time, what I do in the fall, before they flower, is put into the other side of the cooler part of my greenhouse. If you only have one greenhouse or one location, okay, let's say if you have one greenhouse only and it's sunny, or if you go under light or in a house, make sure you have an area that can have a day and night temperature of at least 15 degrees. And that's very similar to how we trigger the flower in Phalaenopsis too. Okay, so if you go under light and in the house, make sure you have your night temperature. Some people have a heater on about 65 or 70 degrees, and that is a night temperature. They will actually stay as a vegetation stage. They never have a low night temperature to trigger the flower, and that's true the case with the Phalaenopsis too. Okay, so before the fall, if you go in the house by windowsill, put that closer to the glass of your window, because that is air. That's gonna be coldest part of the window. Okay, it's actually too cold for the Phalaenopsis, so that's Phalaenopsis. You want to move away from the window because that is really cold, and then move away from. In the summertime, we actually, when they're not in flower, we want to move away from the window, so get extra shadier. So by the fall, in the wintertime, we want more light before the flower. So anything that flower this time of the year, in the early spring, okay, remember, subtract 3 months, always give them more light. Okay, so you want to give them more light right before the flower. Okay, and I usually do not like to spike them before too early. There's this thing on the lady zipper of Paphiopedilum, we call it overstaking. So the presentation wise, I purposely did want to clean this up. This is what happened at the end of the fall. The leaf actually should be trimmed earlier before the flowering stage. But if you've been here, our Paph house, I think there's about at least 5,000 Paphiopedilum in the house. And we have over 20 greenhouses. And a lot of times, always understaffed. And the last thing we have is trying to work on a lot of orchids. And unfortunately, Paphiopedilum is actually always the last house got taken care of. The Phalaenopsis always got taken care of first. So ideally, and I usually like to have, especially when they start to flower, I like to use the pot that is taller. So you can either present it this way, or if you want to take it to the show, okay, the staking is important, okay, but all you have to do is just, I try to use as thin wire as possible and try to close to the cutter. I do not want to upstate, just still give them a nice arching. You can actually have a 45-degree angle, okay, follow the natural curve of the stem. And this is what you can actually stage in. Put in the bamboo or metal wire. And this is a little much better. Okay, I'm going to put this one here for staging. Now, another thing about the growing the hirsutissimum is most of the time when you buy them, uh, they will be like this size, okay, blooming size. Never buy what I call eyelash size. Hirsutissimum, esquirolei is very slow grower. So if you want to buy plant that have at least multiple 2 or 3 grow on them as possible. That tell you the plant is very mature. A plant like this from seed, from out of frost, this is about almost about 5 years. So that tell you that do not spend the time to waste. Don't waste your money because either let him tiny little seeding for $20. I'd rather pay $50 or more because that is 5 years.
I can bloom a lot of phals sitting in that same spot over 5
Yes,
years.
the
versus growing this.
hirsutissimum like to be root bound, so don't overpot them. Even the size that this is about 3.5-inch pot. Okay, do not overpot them. They really like to be in the really tight pot. The smaller the pot, they grow better and they flower better. So one thing about most mistake people make is they overpotted their orchid, especially Paphiopedilum. Actually, Koi is actually enjoying the talk herself. And even without flower, that's really, really ornamental as far as the leaves is concerned. Can we see this? Okay. I don't know if Jeff can focus on this. Jeff, can you see the focus on the stem? Can you see all the hair on the stem? This is very interesting about this hirsutissimum. The ant will never able to get on the flower. So this, the pollination for ant, because this is by design. See all this hair here? That to disrupt any crawling insect on them. So hirsutissimum itself is very much doesn't have a lot of insect. Aphids don't like it because there's nothing there for them to there's no honey for them to pollinate. The only thing insect really might attract to them, guess what? Mealybug, and the mealybug usually hide behind the flower or between the petal. Other than that, this is the one species doesn't really attract to a lot of insect. The leaf structure is very waxy. I found the hirsutissimum itself is very, very pest and disease resistant as long as you don't overpot them. So remember, my motto always, less is more. Less is more. Smaller the pot. Okay, I have seen people trying. This is why we don't. When I sell plant, I like to sell the maturity of the plant rather than pot size, because pot size can be very misleading. A pot like this it can be easy going to a 6-inch pot, but people feel that, oh yeah, 6-inch pot is bigger and better than 4-inch pot. No, but there's so many different type of orchid. Especially the Paphiopedilum and esquirolei, they actually enjoy smaller pot, and also do not try to divide them too early, because very often when I was doing a show and the talk, people always say, when can I divide my orchid? When can I divide this? Guess what? Once you divide them, it's almost like you have a surgery, okay? It takes about a year or 2 years for them to recover. So the hirsutissimum itself is just leave it alone and then grow like a bunch of weed of vegetation. That's why in the wild, hirsutissimum, once you see them in population, they will have at least 5-10 spikes blooming at the same time. This is another fine example. It started with just 2 grow in the center, 2 or 3, and then they start like have a runner like bamboo. So you just let it run. And they always flower on the previous year's growth. So this new vegetation is setting the flower stage for for the future. And most of the time they flower once a year, but I have seen them flower twice a year because the weather is so strange. As long as you have a very cold snap in the fall or even in the late summer, I have seen them flower for Christmas time, and then flower again in March, April. So, and that is only when you have a big uh, print. And then, okay, they are actually, I was hoping to have a green version of it, but you know, the flower just died because the green one was flower earlier, and but I do have another one in spike. So Jeff, can we see this? This is the flower bud of the green. I want it next to the color form. Okay. The green one will have green hair. Thank you. Okay. And the leaf color on the green, you notice the green is always more jade green. And they will also have white hair too. Okay, so there's two color. There's not much different as far as taking care is concerned, but the green one, however, do require because in any of the albino type of lady zipper, albino always enjoy and grow better, less light than the regular color form. Okay, so if you live in Florida, make sure if you have alba form, make sure you toss it to the north side of the house, okay, where the Vandal will never flower. Okay, the north side is a very good area to over summer for a lot of the extra shade loving plant. Okay, if you're in Texas, they love the extra humidity, or sunny if you're in Louisiana, they can tolerate the hot and humid. Just make sure they have a lot of good extra air movement. Okay, the air movement is actually will cool off the foliage for them. What about feeding? We feed them very similar. If you see my regular program, we always feed them with normal salty food at a recommended ratio of a teaspoon per gallon of water. That's actually pretty light. It's light is only about 100%, 100 ppm of nitrogen. Okay. If you want to feed it every week, you can cut it down to half of it. So it's a very good formulation. You can tell every time you have any tip burn on any of your Paphiopedilum, always check the root. If the root is fine, then it's the quality of your fertilizer. A lot of time the fertilizer, that's why this food here doesn't have urea nitrogen in there. So it's very, very purified. And just if you are a new member or new with the program, you can always go back to check out some of the previous podcasts that I have specific on the culture or repotting of the Paphiopedilum or the cool growing type for that. How are we doing so far? Okay. I think I
Jamie
covered.
has a question on watering. Can you keep them with wet feet? Can you keep them in a tray of water?
Yes. This is the type of orchid. That's a good question. Oh my God, not bad for a business major. If you have to go on to the vacation, this is actually for 2 weeks, short term. You can actually let them sit in the water, because if you're going to be going on vacation, not just this type of orchid. Remember, lady zipper have hair on the root. They hate to dry out. If you're on a vacation, you're going to be out for a while. The AC might be not as strong, or some people turn off the AC. You're going to get really hot in the office. Perfect example is I used to have a customer who grow orchid in office, and it was Monday to Friday the plant is happy. When she come back over the weekend, guess what? The AC was turned off during the weekend, and the office got really hot and really dry. And then sometimes your orchid, the flower will wilt it. So if that's the case, put a saucer with some water and let it over the weekend. And that can be the case with
Can you
go on
keep it
vacation.
that way just year round?
Not year round, because that way, if that's the case, the potting media will be get too wet, too saggy, and it will decompose too often. You can go hydroponically, but that's
So
different topic.
here's a dumb question. If it has hair on the stem, does it generally have hair on the roots as well? Is there any correlation between those two?
No, the hair on the stem is very different structure than the hair on the root. Uh, but the hair, if you notice the flower spike, for most of the lady zipper, they all have some hair, with the exception of the complex type, do not have hair. But most of this what I call the Southeast Asia, so all have this kind of hair. It's geographic. It's the evolution for them. Okay, and let's see, repotting. Okay, this is the perfect example of. I usually don't repot every 2 years or 3 years. A lot of time they can repot. They can actually sustain for 3 or 4 years. Hirsutissimum is one species, or esquirolei is the one species really hate the root got disrupted or repotted. So, and the timing is very important. You usually want to repot after, just like all the general rule, repot after the flower finish. So that is usually the late spring or early summer. This is the one example. I'm probably going to repot this one, even though there's still plenty of space. But the pollen, you can almost tell by the leaf. This growth here is kind of weak. So I would actually just cut off the spike. Yes, I do cut off the spike. And I usually for cut flower, okay? And then that will preserve the energy, because I do not, and I want, and I do not like this side here. This side here has some problem. I think some of the growth was rotted before. So this is the time for us to repot this one. And I will not do this until we're going to do another segment on repotting this type of solid leaf type Paphiopedilum. Okay, so we're going to do that in a couple of weeks. We'll announce that we're going to do the repotting of the hirsutissimum and the complex type together, all the solid leaf type. The type of Paphiopedilum does not have the mollier type leaf. Okay. Yes, honey. Okay. All right. So hirsutissimum is a wonderful species to have. They can flower as early as Christmas, and actually this one here, and the flower is kind of washed off, because they've been blooming since Christmas time, December. This is actually fresher, so you can when the newer flower, you get more purplish color. So according to the temperature, if you live in Pacific Northwest and Northeast, this is the orchid for you. They will enjoy the cooler area, and the color retain brighter for you. And hang them up. Just make sure don't have a water stay in the pouch if you have auto watering, so the flower lasts much longer. Other than that, this is a wonderful species to have, especially if you go under light. This is a wonderful. And then just do not repot them too often. You only repot it when it's necessary. So this one here haven't been repotted for about 3 years, and it's very happy. Okay, so and this is actually, it has flower, about 2 spikes at Christmas time. So this is actually in their second spiking. All right, so when you have a big full spike like this, you can have the spike about 3 to 4 months. They can start flowering in about November, Christmas. When they finish, you got another new spike for this coming late spring. Okay, so this is why you want to keep it big and undisrupted. Okay, so here's another perfect example. This one here was repotted, uppotted from this side. This is usually the size we sell. Okay, has 3 growth, 1 major growth and 2 new growth. We pot them up to the 4-inch pot like this. So the center one have, the oldest one have a flower, and all the new grow here have 4 more. So imagine next year. So they're gonna do all their growth this coming summer. But next year they will have at least 2 spikes or more per pot for you. Okay, so do not try to overpot them. Do not try to divide them too early or too small. We always sell, and I will say it on the website too. When we sell them mature side, we have multiple grow on that. If you buy only the single fan, because technically we can actually divide into 2 plant. Okay, but you have been so changed. So if you're at the orchid show, if you only see, always pick up the one, the hirsutissimum or esquirolei with multiple can, multiple spike. If you have a one grow on that, unless they have a very reasonable price, skip it. Okay,
So
always,
it's probably been repotted. They divided it, and they're
yeah.
trying to
There's
double or
lots of
triple their
the,
money.
a lot of behind the scene. I know a lot of people they will actually break. For example, okay, this is how they do it. I know that there's a lot of people say, oh, Norman, how come you when you ship it, you partly mix it all? Because sometimes you get an orchid mix, they are freshly mixed. Guess what? A lot of the time they divide it all before they ship it for you. But I do not know how to do that because pot doesn't fresh mix. Okay, so this is actually what they would do. You see here? Here's one extra plant. So this is actually a very, I'm getting you this and this. Okay, so you always buy multiple plant because this is actually a division from this. But they actually do better as one plant. So when you get them, you actually pot them out to a small inch pot like this. Okay, we're going to do another podcast just on repotting. So there's more detail on them. All right. But we also a customer asking, your root is dead because it's black. No, the all mature plant. This is the color of the root. A lot of beginner, and I hope you're watching the podcast from overworld. Not everything had to have the same color or plump, juicy root system as the Phalaenopsis. This is Paphiopedilum. Even for this species, you also notice how refined they are, thinner versus the Maria type. So every species or the hybrid have a specific structure. So don't try to call and scream Bloody Mary to Karen that we send you a bad plant. This is the color of the root, and when the root are all, this is the color. Not everything has to be white and green. Doesn't mean they are dead root, okay? But they are viable seed root. If you touch it, they are nice and firm. Okay. Alrighty. So that's conclude the session on the Paphiopedilum hirsutissimum, and I'm glad I can show this to you because it's happened to in the growing. And too bad I don't have a green one in season, but they have 2 color, the green color form and the regular color form. All right.